Gopi Janaballabha Girdvaradhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Girdvaradhari Jai Gopi Janaballabha Girdvaradhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupam Sabhadaraj Jai Stoter Satashisimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupam Sabhadaraj Jai Stoter Satashisimad Bhakti Siddhanta Sasi Thakur Prabhupada Ki Go Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th Canto, Chapter 3. Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. Text 13. Chaitragaya namastubhyam. Savajakshaya sakshine. Purushaya atmamulaya. Mula prakritaye namaha. Chaitragaya namastubhyam. Sarvajakshaya sakshine. Purushaya atmamulaya. Mula prakritaye namaha. Chaitragaya namastubhyam. Sarvajakshaya sakshine. Purushaya atmamulaya. Mula prakritaye namaha. Vaishnavis. Chaichagaya, unto the one who knows everything of the external body. Namah, I offer my respectful obeisances. Tubhyam, unto you. Sarva, everything. Ajakshaya, who are superintending, managing. Sakshine, who are the witness, Paramatma, or Antaryami. Purushaya, the Supreme Person. Atmamulaya, who are the original source of everything. Mula Prakritaye, unto the Purusha avatar, the origin of Prakriti and Pradhan. Namah, I offer my respectful obeisances. Translation. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the super soul, the superintendent of everything, and the witness of all that occurs. You are the Supreme Person, the origin of material nature and of the total material energy. You are also the owner of the material body. Therefore, you are the Supreme Complete. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 13.3, the Lord says, Chaichagyam chapimam vidhi sarva chaicheshu bharata. O scion of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. Every one of us is thinking, I am this body, or this is my body. But actually, the truth is different. Our bodies are given to us by the Supreme Proprietor. The living entity, who is also Chaichagya, or the knower of the body, is not the body's only proprietor. The actual proprietor of the body is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Chaichagya. For example, we may rent and occupy a house, but actually the owner of the house is the landlord. Similarly, we may be allotted a certain type of body as a facility with which to enjoy this material world. But the actual proprietor of the body is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is called Sarvajaksha because everything in the material world works under his supervision. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10, wherein the Lord says, Mayajakshena prakriti sriyate sacharacharam. This material nature, working under my direction, O son of Kunti, is producing all moving and unmoving beings. From prakriti, or material nature, comes so many varieties of living entities, including aquatics, plants, trees, insects, birds, animals, human beings, and demigods. Prakriti is the mother, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the father. Aham bija pradap pita. Prakriti can give us material bodies, but as spirit souls, we are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.7. Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The living entity, being part and parcel of God, is not a product of this material world. Therefore, the Lord is described in this verse as Atma Mula, the original source of everything. He is the seed of all existences. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, the Lord says, Sarva yonishu konteya murtaya sambhavantiya. Tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. It should be understood that all living entities, in all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the sea-giving Father. Plants, trees, insects, aquatics, demigods, beasts, birds, and all other living entities are sons or parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. But because they are struggling with different mentalities, they have been given different types of bodies. Manashastan indriyani, prakriti stani karshati. Thus they have become sons of Prakriti, or material nature, which is impregnated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every living entity in this material world is struggling for existence, and the only salvation or relief from the cycle of birth and death in the evolutionary process is full surrender. This is indicated by the word Nama. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let us think about this very fundamental, essential information, that because we are struggling with different mindsets, we're also struggling with different bodies. In other words, the differences in bodies indicate different mindsets. Those different mindsets are a battleground for us, and therefore the body becomes a battleground. In other words, to say in contemporary language, the subtle body, including the mind, is the template upon which the gross body develops. So if we want to find out the origin of our struggles, we have to look at our mind. And depending on the fluctuations of the mind, we get different types of bodies. We generally think that because of the fluctuation of my mind, I'll get different types of circumstances, different moods. The mood of the morning, the mood of the evening, the mood of this week, the mood of that week. But we have to go deeper. The fluctuations of the mind produce different bodies. And because we identify as products of material nature, as Prabhupada writes in the purport, we think we're the children of Prakriti. We may have some vague idea of God, some vague theistic leanings. But when it comes down to the bottom line, our daily activities, our daily struggles, our daily endeavors and yearnings, you see that we think we are products of material nature, sons and daughters of Prakriti. We've forgotten Atma Mula, the original source of all existence. How severe are the consequences for the movements of the mind? This we become aware of as we develop in our Krishna consciousness. We become aware of how much trouble the mind gets us in. Prahlad Maharaj tried to explain this to his father, but Prahlad's explanation simply made his father even more angry. Prahlad told him, what is all this division of the world into friends and enemies? There's only one real enemy. That's the uncontrolled mind. We can all study how our mind goes through so many contortions, concoctions, imaginations, acceptances, rejections. Prahlad tried to explain this to Hiranyakashipu. You think you have conquered. And indeed, you may have conquered all directions around you, but you left the most volatile entity unconquered. That's your own mind. Let's consider the circumstances of this knowledge that we're getting in these prayers of surrender by Gajendra. Without considering Gajendra's previous life as King Indradumna, let's just focus on his heavenly planet's escapade, even though he's an elephant. The scene is on Trikuta Mountain, a vacation spot for the demigods. Trikuta Mountain is in the ocean of milk, and when the milk ocean washes on the shores of the mountain, the sand turns into emeralds. The mountain is full of caves where the demigods come to sport. The air is pervaded with fragrance from the heavenly bodies of the heavenly damsels. Everything is ideal. But as you'll find, no matter what planet you're on in the material universe, there's always a pinprick, there's always a discrepancy, there's always a problem. The example I like is sweet rice mixed with sand. You can just imagine, like in the old days of ISKCON, when they would make sweet rice, the cook would start on Saturday morning. Because the slower you cook the sweet rice over a low flame, the more luxurious the next day when it's offered the taste will be. So the most crucial event in the temple for the week was the making of the sweet rice. No one disturbed the cook when he started on Saturday morning. So you cook it and cook it and cook it. And then a few hours before the Sunday feast, you put it in the cooler and it's served chilled. Just think if that divine sweet rice is mixed with sand. Think of all your expectations. You're waiting all week. And then you lift the cup of sweet rice to your lips. And at first you taste the nectarian beverage. And then crunch, crunch, crunch. What would you do at that point? You would keep on, right? I'll get past the sand. The sand will just be there momentarily. And then finally you tell yourself, I don't mind the sand. I'll compromise 50-50, 50% sweet rice, 50% sand. I'm practical, I'm realistic, I'm pragmatic. So this is our approach to material life. There'll be some setbacks, there'll be some frustrations, but that's all right, I'm moving forward. I'm progressive. That's how you give yourself false accolades, false honors. I admit that there's going to be problems, but that's okay. Let's keep moving onward. So just picture Gajendra elephant without considering his past life. He's rumbling through the forest because he smells lotus dust particles from the lake on Trikuta Mountain. He wants to take his whole elephant family there for enjoyment, refreshment. As he's rumbling through the forest, he's trampling on trees, plants, and creepers. Thorns are tearing his body, but he doesn't care. We can learn so much about our quest for material enjoyment by studying Gajendra's march to the lake. Thorns were tearing his body. Well, so what? You just got to tolerate. You know, there's always going to be some inconveniences. Think of the enjoyment that waits you. We would admire these days Gajendra's proactiveness. You've got to get that enjoyment. There may be some thorns ripping you. That's all right. Tolerate. Show your fortitude. Show your vitality. Show how progressive you are. Of course, what happens? You may ignore the thorns tearing at you, both literally and figuratively. But later, you feel the pain. But we said, that's all right. It'll be later. These are the deals we strike with ourselves for the sake of material enjoyment. I'll ignore the inconveniences now, even though they'll pop up later and give me pain, just for some momentary happiness. So we have to analyze our life. We have to diagram our life and see what we are doing by sacrificing the future for the present enjoyment. But not only is Gajendra doing that, but he's also causing problems for other animals in the forest. The most ferocious animals, the Bhagavatam says, are fleeing. Even lions, they're fleeing. Other elephants are fleeing. Gajendra is Gajapati, the king elephant. Lesser animals, tiny animals aren't afraid. Some of them just go to another part of the forest. So what does this teach us? This teaches us that anytime you try for material happiness in this world, someone else is going to be inconvenienced. In other words, let's look at this whole history of Gajendra in terms of pure happiness, Shuddha Sukha, and material happiness. How can you have sustainable happiness on the material platform? Amongst the progressive thinkers of the world, happiness for a few is becoming old-fashioned, outmoded, because progressive people can see that the quest for material happiness, which has mostly been economic endeavor, is ruining the planet, ruining the environment. Why not then upgrade the material pursuit? Why simply pursue happiness irresponsibly? How about sustainable happiness? That is much different. What is sustainable happiness as defined? It is happiness that is concerned with other persons. Hey, congratulations. You're thinking of other persons. Happiness that is concerned with other species. Happiness that is concerned with the environment. Wow, what a great step forward. And what's the opposite of this sustainable happiness? Happiness that exploits other creatures, other human beings, exploits the environment. So the world will be saved through sustainable material happiness, which is impossible. You cannot act for material happiness without causing distress for someone or something. Even in the authorized process, karma kanda, the authorized process of material pursuit is the Vedic system of performing good karma to avoid your bad karma or balance out your bad karma. But there's still problems. And just see, remember, Gajendra is in a heavenly spot where the demigods come to enjoy. And later we'll talk, if we have time, about who Gajendra was in his previous life. He was King Indradumna. Why not talk about it now? King Indradumna did everything right. He retired. He went to the forest. He was meditating in his cottage on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Agastya Muni, the great rishi, came along. But Indradyumna was totally absorbed in meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore he didn't pay any attention to Agastya Muni. Agastya Muni then decided this king needs to be cursed. He wants to be dull. He doesn't want to be aware of what's going on around him. Let him take an elephant's body. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, what kind of outcome is this? The king, as an ideal person, is meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he gets cursed by someone who's supposed to be one of the most celebrated sages, Agastya Muni. This is not fair. Be on the lookout for things that happen in your spiritual life which you know are not fair. I assure you it will happen to everyone. Whether it's some kind of disease, some kind of social problem with other devotees, some loss. Why? This is not the way it is. Why did it happen to me? It shouldn't be like that. Just think of King Indradyumna when these circumstances hit you. So then you're wondering, what is this bhakti? He should get justice. He's meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But maybe there is no material justice in the material world. For justice, you have to look beyond the material plane. And King Indradyumna, on that transcendental plane, is going to get more than justice. Because normally, in the yuga that he's operating in, it would be very difficult to go back to Godhead. Many births. But now, he gets cursed by Agastya Muni. He becomes an elephant and goes back to Godhead. So from the material point of view, this is a disaster. From the spiritual point of view, he's got 5-star deluxe treatment. But because we're materially tinged, we just focus on the curse. Wait a minute. He was meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he's cursed to be an elephant. And he lost most of his memory of all his spiritual acumen, all his spiritual abilities. We like to focus on that. We forget that he's going to go back to Godhead. How? Riding on the back of Garuda with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have to look at the outcome. In that particular yuga, as we explained, it would take many births to go back to Godhead. His going back to Godhead was accelerated by the curse from Agastya Muni. But now he's Gajendra, and his focus is on material enjoyment. Not only for him, but for his whole elephant family. We don't want to discourage anyone for being responsible for their family. But still, let's drill down into Gajendra's focus, Gajendra's vision. He's already scattered most of the animals in the forest, showing that no matter what you try to do for so-called sustainable happiness, someone is going to be negatively affected. This is the way the material world is. When you act materially, someone will be rubbed the wrong way, someone will be deprived. It's a basic fact of existence. So then, he's approaching the lake. The lotus dust particles are up his nose. He's so enthusiastic. He gets into the lake. You can imagine what it's like for an elephant, huge elephant, king of the elephants, to enter the lake. It causes waves, literally. And other animals in the lake were disturbed. Again, showing you the problem with material happiness, no matter how sustainable you try to make it. You're always going to cause problems for other human beings, other creatures, the environment, for society, things never materially balance out in the material world. The disturbance is created in the lake. Meanwhile, what is Gajendra doing? He's bathing himself in the refreshing waters. He's drinking the nectarian water. And he's very charitable. He's very philanthropic. With his trunk, he sucks up water and shoots it on his family members. Again, we don't want to criticize anyone who's responsible for their family. In Kali Yuga, that's becoming very rare. But what we do want to focus on is Gajendra is not minding the labor. In fact, he's oblivious. He's totally unaware that he's working by sucking up water with his trunk and spraying it on his relatives. That's what we want to focus on. It's all right that he's caring for his family, but he should understand this is work. But he's totally absorbed in the bodily conception of life. I'm with my family members. That experience, that social experience of being with my family members is the all in all. Meanwhile, he's actually working hard, sucking up water and spraying it. So these are all the discrepancies that are inbuilt to the quest for material happiness. We have to think about this because we're so hardwired to enjoy. We're so hardwired to act as children of Prakriti, identifying as products of material nature. Let me connect with material nature and there'll be peace. There'll be fulfillment. I will feel complete when I connect with material happiness. So the purpose of this class is not to beat up on material happiness. Because you might think, well, come on, Maharaj. I mean, look, we got to do something. We can't be spiritual all the time. The purpose of this class is to analyze dispassionately the phenomenon known as material happiness, and then you can decide for yourself what you want to do with the information. Isn't that trendy and contemporary? You can feel empowered with this information. You make the choices. Things are going to turn out disastrous. Because we already said the creatures in the lake were disturbed, although Gajendra is enjoying. And one of those creatures was a crocodile. The crocodile, as you know, with his jaws, grabbed the leg of the elephant and began to pull the elephant deeper into the water. Just think of the scene with Gajendra's family. The women elephants were all crying. They couldn't do anything but cry. The men elephants tried to get Gajendra from behind and pull him out of the lake, away from the crocodile's grip. But it wasn't working. The situation is one of complete helplessness. But this helplessness is turning out to be the greatest favor. Because due to this overwhelming helplessness, Gajendra is going to remember part of his spiritual knowledge from his previous life. And he's going to recite these prayers of surrender that we're studying now. In these prayers of surrender, he's referring to the position, not completely to the specific person who holds the position. But that was enough. He's offering prayers to the Supreme Source, to the Super Soul. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the super soul, the superintendent of everything, and the witness of all that occurs. The whole chapter is full of these prayers offered to a position rather than specifically Lord Hari, to Vishnu, to Krishna. Because his elephant's memory couldn't get that far. But what he called for, what he called out for was enough. Because after all, he is a devotee. It was enough to attract the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to deliver him. But let's go back to Gajendra's being caught, his leg being caught in the mouth of the crocodile. Gajendra knew, and we are explained in the Bhagavatam, this is the arrangement of karma. But it was special karma. It was a reaction meant to bring him the highest benefit. So I advise myself and you, whenever you're in some perplexing or dangerous or challenging situation, you can read information Prabhupada has given in these few chapters about Gajendra, about how danger to a devotee is an opportunity. Danger is an opportunity to remember Krishna more. And when a devotee utilizes danger and crisis in that way, Krishna becomes pleased and takes the devotee back to Godhead. Tate nukampansu samikshamana. In other words, Bhagavatam, through Parampara, is giving us the complete yoga picture. This is the yoga of danger, the yoga of crisis, just as Arjuna went through his crisis in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. If the yoga system is actually complete, it should teach its practitioners how to utilize even danger and disaster for the highest purpose. So there's so much counsel given by Srila Prabhupada in his wonderful purports in this section of the Bhagavatam. Because he knows our tendency. Like, what's the point of spiritual life if you're just going to wind up like Indradumna, cursed by Augusta Muni? Now, of course, the crocodile has a different history. Hoo was a Gandharva having a good time in the water. He was sporting with heavenly planets ladies. And he happened to pull the wrong leg. Watch out next time you're sporting in the water. He thought he was pulling the leg of one of the ladies, but it turned out to be the leg of Devamrita, who was offended and cursed Hu to be a crocodile in his next life. But for that crocodile, the best result came when the Supreme Personality of Godhead came to deliver Gajendra. He did it by grabbing the trunk of Gajendra and pulling Gajendra and the crocodile out of the water. And then, with his chakra, he severed the head of the crocodile. And because that crocodile had contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, after a short life as a Gandharva, he went back to Godhead. So this section of Bhagavatam is teaching us what are the important parts of circumstance. It's teaching us to go for the essence. The essence is to end the cycle of repeated birth and death and go back to Godhead. It's easy for us to say that, but we need constant counseling. We need constant therapy. And so the purports are giving us that therapy. The purports are telling us, look, there's more than a silver lining to this dark cloud. In fact, this silver lining is leading to the greatest dark cloud. It's leading to Sham Sundar. We're learning so much about how to live life because bhakti involves lifestyle engineering. I often explain this when speaking at universities because students are skeptical. Okay, Swami, are you here just to give us religious beliefs? Are you here to get us to accept some notions, get us to accept some theories, religious theories? Is that why we're sitting before you? If so, we're wasting our time. We've come to hear you out of politeness, but if you're only going to give us religious belief, then our time is wasted. So I explained to them that bhakti is the complete yogic science of lifestyle engineering, how to shape your life for spiritual experience, how to make your life a spiritual laboratory. And that's what Gajendra is doing. What seems to be complete defeat that happened through a so-called innocent quest for material enjoyment. But let's get one thing straight. There is no innocent quest for material enjoyment. As soon as we try to endeavor materially, we are guilty. And you see that so clearly in the example of Gajendra. Routine pursuit of material enjoyment, chasing the lotus dust particles from the lake, and he gets into so much trouble. He was taking care of his family wonderfully, wasn't he? Sucking up water and spraying it on them. And then what happens? Complete disaster. No one could do anything about it. The wives and daughters were crying. The men weren't strong enough, even though they were elephants, to pull him back out of the water, pull him away from the crocodile's grip. Yet, because Gajendra is actually a devotee, the crisis propelled him to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at least in a generic way. But that was enough. He offered these prayers to the position of Vishnu, to the position of Hari, to the position of Krishna. And he was so helpless. That helplessness allowed him to focus with maximum intensity. This is what we're always looking for in bhakti, how to intensify our concentration on the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, on the name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, on the form, on the qualities, on the pastime. We want to heighten intensity. So therefore, we want to shape, we want to engineer our lifestyle so that we maximize our intensity. And of course, there are different styles for lifestyle according to your ashram. But still, the bottom line is the same. I've got to manage my lifestyle so that my intensity is always increasing. And the super soul will help you. This verse is about the super soul. In the 4th canto of Bhagavatam, it's explained that the super soul in the heart of all the devotees makes bhakti ever fresh. So it's not all up to you. I always like to tell the example that His Holiness Badri Narayan Maharaj told me. He had been a devotee for around 25 years. And his father one day, who was not very favorable in the beginning, but was mellowing as the decades rolled by, his father confided in him, or asked a confidential question. Son, tell me, what do you do about boredom? is a key question in material life, boredom. What do you do? How do you handle boredom? So Bhajiraj Maharaj said, Dad, in my 25, 30 years at that time as a devotee, I have experienced the full gamut of human emotions. The full gamut of human emotions ranging from outrage to ecstasy, but I've never been bored in ISKCON. That's one thing I've never experienced is boredom. That's life around devotees. You're never bored. Sometimes you're wondering, what is going on? Oh my God, the OMG program. And sometimes, oh, that was so nectarian. That was so ecstatic. But boredom never happens. Why is that? Let's get into it. It's because of your endeavor combined with the reciprocation from the supersoul in the heart, who makes everything ever fresh. That's why day after day goes by in your bhakti career. And in spite of the ups and downs due to the movements of the mind, things become fresher and sweeter. There may be periods of dryness, but those periods of dryness propel you to intensify your spiritual lifestyle. So in that way, the bhakti science is complete. It utilizes everything, even dry spells in your bhakti, for pushing you forward. Just as Gajendra's elephant status was utilized perfectly for going back to Godhead. But this requires guidance. This kind of insight and its resultant application to your life requires guidance. So therefore we have these purports pointing out danger is an opportunity. Gajendra was in danger. This is an extraordinary opportunity to come closer to Krishna. Without that kind of guidance, we can't hold up under material stress. It's not possible. Our mind becomes totally bent out of shape. Our intelligence becomes bewildered. Oh, what am I going to do now? What a crisis. What a disaster for my body, for those in relation to my body, to my status in this world. But then we get such divine information from the purports about the complete science of yoga. So in this way, we're thankful to Gajendra for his experience, starting as King Indradumna and then as Gajendra, who will go back to Godhead on the back of Garuda with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how can we say it's not fair? The movements, or what the Supersoul in the heart is arranging for everyone, is very grave, meaning it's hard for us to readily understand. This is why the association of devotees and guidance is so important. Because sometimes what Krishna is arranging as the Supersoul in the heart is difficult to understand and even more difficult to swallow. You may understand it, but to swallow it is tough. So I always remember something Srila Prabhupada said. He said that anything can be tolerated in good association. So please remember that. Anything can be tolerated in good association. It seemed that the karmic reaction Gajendra became ensnared in, it seemed to be a calamity. But actually, for Gajendra, it turned out to be of the greatest benefit. It wasn't ordinary karma. How are we going to see these parallels in our own life? That requires deep thought, attentive hearing and chanting, stimulating association. If we're serious about our career for going back to Godhead, we need all those ingredients in our life. then we have real wealth. This chapter is entitled Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. He's showing you what is real richness, what is real prosperity. Not his quest for material happiness, whether sustainable or not. Because actually any quest for material happiness is not sustainable. There are negative effects. There's a time limit. There's no such thing as pure material happiness. There's always the mixture of some distress in it. But we can't get that through our heads because we're living in a shadow of Krishna's world. The material world belongs to Krishna. It's his shadowy realm. By studying these chapters, we find out what is real justice. So many people in the world today are concerned with social justice, inequality of wealth, inequality of social status. Some care about this, some don't care. Just every person for himself. Regardless, all those issues are balanced in this incident with Gajendra, who was Indradumna, with the crocodile, who was Huhu, with the sages who apparently cause havoc by cursing. Everything balances out in going back home, back to Godhead. At the same time, the bhakti lifestyle is best for being in this world, not simply going beyond this world. Because in the quest for Krishna's happiness, in the quest for our giving happiness to Krishna, there are no negative side effects for anyone. So even while we're in this world, bhakti is the best. Whereas the so-called quest for sustainable material happiness will never work out. People can't control their mind and senses. What they call happiness is the mode of passion. The mode of passion always has inbuilt dissatisfaction and distress. So remember the example of the sweet rice mixed with sand. Very vivid example. You can't have one without the other. But we're determined. I'm going to work hard with my prowess, with my expertise. I'll get past that sand. I'll just taste the sweet rice. And wait a minute. Even if I just taste sweet rice for a few moments and the sand comes later, that's all right. Right? Yeah. We have to understand there's something better. And this history of Gajendra will teach us vividly what is better and how to apply the fullness of Bhakti Yoga in our life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions in the last fading moments? You always have a question, yes. The questions, though, your questions are better than the lecture.
Maharaj, my question's inspired by your lecture. Thank you for your wonderful lecture. Maharaj, my question is that I see a phenomenon, as you said, that when you try to enjoy material happiness, you always cause distress to other living entities. However, the phenomenon is that even when one tries to enjoy spiritual happiness, one can cause distress to other living entities. Like we go for darshan as an individual, we step on somebody's foot who's also trying to have darshan. Or as an institution, the leadership of ISKCON, we try to come up with rules and policies to try to guide the entire society, but still some people won't appreciate and they say, this is not good, you're giving us distress. So how do we see this?
Our quest is Krishna's happiness. And sometimes there are disagreements about how to give Krishna happiness. But those disagreements become more and more purified, to eventually those disagreements reach their pinnacle in the spiritual world, where Satyabhama always has disagreements with Rukmini. And even Srimati Radharani has disagreements with Krishna. That's the perfection of disagreement. What we see in the material world, of course, is a perversion. And what we see as devotees reflects or presents different levels of purity. So there are going to be disagreements, but we want to purify those disagreements so that they're more and more exclusively all about Krishna's pleasure. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out a very interesting thing in his purports to Chaitanya Bhagavat. He says that the arguments between Satyabhama and Rukmini in the spiritual Leela are setting the standard for disagreement in the material world. Think about that one. Yes.
You mentioned that devotional service makes everything good for everyone. So I somehow or other I thought of Gayendra's attempt to take shelter in that desperate moment. Of course, the source of everything is God, Krishna. No? So that attempt was what it made for Agastya act of cursing, which would have been detrimental for him. That the attempt of Gayendra to take shelter made Agastya action of cursing to be finally good even for himself.
Yes, that point is always made. Curses by a genuine saintly person are for the best. Just like when Narada Muni cursed Nalakuva and Manigriva. It was a simultaneous curse-blessing. This material body is a curse upon us. It brings so many physical and mental afflictions. But if we take advantage of this curse as of having a material body and engage it in Krishna's service, the material body becomes a blessing. The same with the whole material world. It's a problematic place, presenting constant dangers and crises. But if we take advantage of those situations for engaging everything in Krishna's service, we see the blessings. This is how perfect and complete Bhakti Yoga is. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.